Welcome, everyone. I'm Julie Trone, and this is Sunday Evenings with the Zonta District 12 AEGE Committee, Sunday, September 28th. We are so glad you're here, and we welcome you to learn about our topic tonight, which is single-use plastic waste, a problem we can fix. So let's keep going. Here's our agenda for today. We're going to watch a video. It's about 3.5 minutes long about the story of plastic, which I feel is really important to understand plastic a little bit before we listen to what Maureen has to say, because she's been working with recycling and waste reduction really for a couple of decades now. She's an expert in her field, and she is doing a lot of great work here in Fort Collins, Colorado. Then we'll have a discussion. Going to talk about why should Zontians care, a little esoteric thing that I put together, I hope you like. And then what can clubs do, which is always really an important message. All right, here is the story of plastics. Let's go ahead and listen.
Heard about a giant trash island in the ocean, or that poor sea turtle and the straw. Maybe you've even heard how plastic is being found inside the fish we eat. The plastic crisis gets a lot of attention, but the headlines usually focus on the plastic that ends up in the environment. And that's just part of the story. The truth is, plastic has a whole life cycle that's hidden from view, one that harms people and the planet from start to finish. Let's start at the beginning. Plastic is made from fossil fuels like oil or fracked natural gas. Extracting those fossil fuels and turning them into plastics creates a lot of pollution. Pollution that most often affects marginalized communities nearby. As we've gotten better about using less oil and gas to power our lives, the fossil fuel industry found a lifeline in plastics. In fact, oil and gas companies are doubling down on plastic production, with plans to build or expand over 300 petrochemical plants in the US alone by 2025. But these companies already produce more plastic than we can use. So where's all that plastic going? A lot of it's flowing into new markets, in places like Asia, Africa, and Latin America. Because more than any other product category, plastic isn't driven by the demand for it, but by the supply. Corporations like Unilever, Nestle, and Procter & Gamble are aggressively marketing single-use plastic products around the world. These companies go to places like Indonesia, where I live, and push their products onto communities that just aren't prepared to deal with all that plastic. Maybe they're used to using natural packaging. Maybe they live on a tiny island without a system of waste collection. And on top of that, countries in the global north are shipping their own plastic waste into these countries too. When you add that all up, it's no wonder so much of this plastic ends up in the environment. And globally, that's where a whopping 32% of plastic packaging ends up. 40% goes to a landfill, where plastic just piles up for future generations to deal with. And 14% is incinerated. Incineration is a nasty business, producing toxic smoke and fly ash. These super expensive facilities depend on plastic to burn everything else. It is oil and gas after all. So they want to see more plastic, not less. Yahoo! Then there's recycling. Unfortunately, it's not the solution that many people think it is. Just 14% of plastic packaging gets recycled, and only 2% is effectively recycled, meaning it becomes something as useful as before. The rest is downcycled into something worse. And most recycled plastic is only recycled once, before ending up in landfills, incinerators, or the environment anyway. So it turns out that we can't burn, bury, or recycle our way out of this problem. And we can't just scoop all that plastic out of the environment either. That's like trying to bail out a bathtub with a teaspoon while the tap is on full blast. So how about we turn off the tap by shutting down the plastic machine? That means passing policies that create systemic change. Like phasing out the single-use plastics that pollute the most. Ending the fossil fuel subsidies that are fueling big plastic. and holding companies responsible for the plastic waste they create. That's how we can achieve our vision of a zero-waste future, where all of our products and packaging can be reused or repaired, effectively recycled or composted, and ultimately how we create a sustainable, circular economy that works for both people and the planet. Visit storyofplastic.org to learn more and take action.
Julie, you're muted to me. I can't hear you.
I am muted. Thank you so much. Anyway, let's move on to Maureen. She founded FoCo Trash Mob. Is that correct, Maureen?
Yes.
Okay. She's worked for 12 years in waste reduction and recycling at her county's landfill and her city's recycling center. I met with her, during the summer and twice, once during a presentation from an organization that's recycling plastics. I call it upcycling because they're turning them into more sustainable plastic products. She can probably talk about that. And then it's called Ridwell. And then we met, talk about having her on tonight. I'm so excited because she is the guru for FoCo Trash Mob, and they do a lot of work in the community, educating and inspiring all of us to do better. So she's going to talk about single-use plastics, and then we'll talk about what we can do to reduce waste. Maureen, I'm going to go ahead and stop the share, and we'll get Maureen on.
Oh, Julie, you're muted again.
Okay, Maureen, if you just want to talk a minute, if I missed anything about your background.
I have about 20 years experience in this field because solid waste has always been my passion. Isn't it everyone's? No. It's actually the last thing that humans ever think about. It really is. It's really on the bottom of the whatever we care about. So, but it's always been important to me ever since my mom answered my question, where's the trash going? When I was 10, she said it goes away. That wasn't really sufficient. But I don't see the slides. So,
Okay, I'm putting them up right now.
yep. So when those get going, I'll just yeah.
There we go.
That
It's all
story
yours.
stuff is so good. It really follows the trajectory here, as you just saw. So how damaging single-use plastics or SUPs, that has nothing to do with this stand-up paddle board. So how detrimental they are throughout their life cycle, from the extraction, which is usually fracking, to the manufacturing, which is usually a cracker plant that uses an enormous amount of energy and chemicals, to a carbon-filled transportation to markets, to a brief life of a few minutes or seconds, to the three options of disposal where they never break down, thus making their way into every part of the planet and our bodies. So I kind of knew too much now to not do anything about this, having been so passionate about this topic. So next. So we need to understand that how we got here is not entirely our fault. The chemical industries marketed a lifestyle convenience as being the best life ever. And they misled us into thinking that plastics were recyclable and hygienic. The reality is that most plastics are not recyclable, and the plastic industry knew that for decades. Here is a statement from the president of the plastics industry in 1988. If the public thinks that recycling is working, then they're not going to be as concerned about the environment. And then they appropriated the chasing arrows for their resin identification system. This was ingenious because it suggests that any item with a symbol can be recycled. Next. So as the boots on the ground at the recycling center and the landfill, I felt like I was seeing more and more different kinds of SUPs coming, single-use plastics, coming to our recycling center. And this graph shows that that's exactly what was happening. But the bad news could have something good that may help. If you look at this graph, we have not been doing this for very long at all. Maybe 25 years tops. And we know we don't need all this plastic anyway. The culture of convenience took over a culture of responsibility quickly, but we can still change it back. Next. Of course, we can start in our own lives and homes to reduce consumption. Then we can reuse things where possible and only recycle when we can't do the other two. Think about how you've done some of these things in your own life. We must realize, though, that when it comes to SUPs, single-use plastics, reducing your purchasing of them is very difficult, as you know. In many instances, we don't even have a choice to buy our own food without it being packaged in SUPs. And I am not one to feel helpless about this. So, next slide. We at FoCo Trash Mob, a volunteer organization of 8 individuals, feels like the next 3 actions are the best ways to tackle this problem. Number 1, now that you know about this, each one teaches one. We can educate through presentations like this one, speaking and tabling at community events and schools, to name a few. Next. 2, we can support legislation where possible. EPR, or Extended Producer Responsibility bills, have been introduced and or passed in almost a dozen states. You are never too young or old to call your legislators and ask for EPR. Plastic bag and water bottle bans have been passed in many states and cities as well. The state of Colorado has banned EPS, which is expanded polystyrene, known as styrofoam. These are some awesome strides. And lastly, 3. Next slide. We can put pressure on the companies that create and purchase SUPs. What if plastic producers and buyers of plastic packaging had to deal with the disposal of it? Let's tell them, you made it, you take it. We need everyone to do a small action that will have a big impact. And if this doesn't still motivate you, consider joining one of these national and international groups that we collaborate with. Next slide. These are the groups that we are working on with different aspects of the SUPS pollution crisis. We hope that you will do something with them or with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. That was powerful. Loved it. Sure, everybody else too. So let's have a discussion. To do that, you can use the raise your hand function. We're going to get out of this, dump out of the slides for the discussion period. Or you can raise your hand physically. So you can turn your videos on, or you can use the chat to ask a question. And we're back. Ooh, thank you for the clapping. That's for you, Maureen. All right, so let's see who has questions. You're welcome to unmute your video, but especially unmute your audio. If you have a question, you can go ahead and do that if you'd like. Anybody? Oh, I see two questions. Okay, I'm going to start with Liz and go to Samantha. Go ahead, Liz.
Yeah, I thought I knew a lot, but I did not know that Colorado had banned styrofoam. I'm still seeing styrofoam. So is it just for huge companies? I know our local restaurants are using it for take-home food, which I very, very rarely do because I don't like putting food in plastics.
Yep. So EPR, extended producer responsibility, the law in Colorado allowed restaurants a grace period. So that's number one. The other, well, so let's talk about it in two different ways. There's block styrofoam. So if you order from Amazon and the item comes in a block styrofoam packaging, there's nothing the state of Colorado can do. It's going to come to you with that packaging. What the EPR, the state EPR mandated is no restaurants should continue to use styrofoam unless they had already purchased it before the ban went into place. Then they were allowed to um, sort of what's the term, like graduate it or let it run out. Now we're in September, we're coming up on October, and there are a lot of restaurants still using it. And that is because there's not a efficient or adequate, um, let's say, enforcement going on at the state level, which would then be down to county and city levels to ensure that those restaurants are doing that. So that's why my third thing, which is nudge corporations, includes that. It includes citizen scientists that are willing to step up and say, hey, I ordered this from you and it came in styrofoam. And I know that's illegal at this point in Colorado. So if you're not comfortable doing that, I get it. But that's what we kind of need at this point for our EPR.
Thank you.
It was a good explanation, and I'm glad you went over that EPR legislation. Samantha, you were next.
So I really like the idea of making the companies pay for it. And the only thing I can think of that's similar is TerraCycle. And I wanted to see if there was any other ideas of what we could do to make companies do that or support TerraCycle for the companies that already do it, like Arm & Hammer and Aussie Hair Products and anybody else who is using TerraCycle, maybe even holding TerraCycle events, or if this is something you've heard of.
Yeah, thank you, Samantha. So, TerraCycle and Ridwell, which is where I met Julie, these are companies that may or may not be well-meaning. TerraCycle does not hold the company accountable. It holds us accountable. So if you are sending stuff to TerraCycle, you might be doing it through one of their sponsored companies, or you might be paying to send your unrecyclable or hard to recycle plastics back to them. This is again, if you saw the video on the teaspoon with the faucet full on, again, as long as just think back to 1988 comment of our wonderful chemical president. If people think that we could recycle this stuff, they're much more likely to keep buying it and not protest. What we are talking about when we talk about being responsible, the producers of this being responsible, that's on two levels. A huge level, a state level, hopefully a national level, is EPR, Extended Producer Responsibility. These are laws passed via our states, and there are, as I said, about 12. On a very micro level, that's where FoCo Trash Mob comes in. We're like a very micro level of EPR in that we send things back to companies because they're not recyclable. And we say, you made it, you take it. B. Johnson, who wrote the Zero Waste Home, she was the first person to suggest what she calls active discards, which is if you send that piece of trash back to them and say, I can't recycle this. This is not my responsibility, nor is it the responsibility of my municipality where I worked for a long time with trying to deal, we couldn't deal with it either. So it's a way of you to doing a cathartic exercise and saying, this isn't on me. This isn't on my municipality. This is on you because we didn't need all this extra plastic packaging and we can't deal with it. So you get to take it. And I know it sounds a bit extreme or activist or whatever, but that's where I landed after 20 years dealing with SUPs. Samantha, feel free to ask me any other questions. I'm totally happy to answer. There's my kitty.
Julie,
So-
you're muted.
I was gonna say to send it back, you put it in a package and mail it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that was my question too. Thank you, Liz, for saying that. We don't know what they do with it if we send it back, but what if and so my vision is always send it back in force. Get everybody in your club to just collect a bunch of stuff, spend the money and send it back. Well, where do you send it?
Yeah.
And, which of the 1,500 plastics manufacturers do you send it to? Or do you send it to Hershey's or Nestle
Yeah.
or also, can we put some pressure on our grocers? Our
Yeah.
grocers who are wrapping all the organic produce in clear plastic film over styrofoam. Because they obviously are still using styrofoam too, the grocers. I don't know if they're part of the EPR legislation. Can you speak to any of that?
Yeah. So you just gave a bunch of different ideas, but the styrofoam that meat is packaged in is exempt from the EPR law because these companies, so let's say Kroger's, which is City Market, which is King Supers, they're national. So our state law cannot accommodate a national process, let's say, or packaging, way of packaging. So you can do this on a number of different ways. And our website really, really lays it out for you. You could do it this way. Number one, I'm pissed off about this packaging and I'm going to send it back to X. You can do it where we will help you with a campaign or campaigns we have done. You can continue doing them. And the third way is in a concerted effort, we are getting ready to do a campaign against, let me just have a raise of hands or an acknowledgement. How many of you have tried to purchase mandarin oranges that are not in this horrible mesh packaging? And have you found it? Are you able to do that?
I found it, but you have to go to a more expensive store like Whole Foods. to do that, to get the mandarins.
Yeah,
Or during the season of mandarins, because we're
yeah,
getting them from a gazillion miles away. Some grocery stores will have some loose ones, but it's not
yes,
very easy to find.
yes. So we are currently researching this. We've been in touch with a lot of distributors, a lot of different grocers, and we're trying to get up a concerted effort to do this campaign. Um, what we need is people to go in person or call their grocery store and say, "Can I speak with the produce manager?" And then we have a little blurb, which is basically like, um, I would like to buy mandarin oranges, but I don't want to buy them in the mesh packaging that you all have. You know, it's a blur. We have the whole campaign set out right now. What we're trying to do is get folks to do this so we know where to focus our energies to launch this campaign. Um, so again, these are 3 ways you can do it. You can say, I have this item I'm upset about. I'm going to send it off. You can do that. What we ask is that anybody who sends anything or anybody who emails anybody, we would like to know so we can keep track of this. We have spreadsheets that we're keeping track of who's sending what, who responded, and that was how we were able to make inroads because everyone's going to ask us, hey, FoCo Trash Mob, how did you succeed? What did you do? What happened? Um, I can say that our greatest success was Starbucks, but now we're seeing a little bit of success with the Mandarin Orange. So basically, if you push these companies enough, that to me is stronger than trying to do legislation at this point in time. There are many states that are crippled to do any legislation that's environmental or helpful in any way. I hate to say my southern states. So, you know, what we can do now is nudge corporations. Supposedly, they respond to what their customers want. Now, cynical me knows that's not entirely true because the marketing of those companies has told us what we want. But those of us, I can tell you this, let me just say this quick story. When we are talking to, when you call the Sprouts, Whole Foods, whoever it is, and you say, can I speak to the produce manager? And you tell them about, I'd like to buy these mandarins, but I hate this packaging. Many of them will tell you, I hate it too. So here you are making connections with people who have a little bit of power. And if they can take the power up another step, you've now made a win. So that's what we're trying to do on a really, small grassroots level.
Excellent. I will be talking to them. I do have a question though. You have your moms out there with their kids and sitting in the cart and they want mandarin oranges. If they weren't in those mesh bags, and I totally understand that that is not good for the environment, but neither are those plastic bags that you pull and rip off and stuff your stuff in. I'm playing devil's advocate here. What
Yeah.
is worse? What is better? Because
The
I reuse all of those plastic produce bags. I have a
yes,
little pile of them
yeah,
and I just wrap them up in a little ball. I stick them in my little
there
container
you
and
go.
so I reuse mine, but not
Yeah,
everybody does that. Not everybody has the time or the habit. So what
right.
is, what is better, the mesh or the plastic bag?
We
Or
we are
I know,
forgetting,
no,
we
yeah,
are forgetting a third option, which is
yeah.
their mesh bags that you can purchase, of course.
Right.
You have to buy them. And I have them, but you can use those. You could use those. Um, when it comes to this horrible mesh packaging that sheds microplastics that we now know are around the globe, everywhere on the planet, and in our bodies, you try to get the mandarins out, you're cutting them out, you're shedding microplastics. The produce bag, you might reuse. You might put your kitty poop in it. You might use it, like you said. That's infinitely better. Have the produce bag ready for people who are in a hurry. The kids can pick out the ones they want. That can be fun for them. You don't have to purchase more mandarins that you won't eat. You don't have to purchase the moldy ones that are in the mesh plastic. Of course, the reusable thing is the better thing. But this packaging we're targeting because for a number of reasons, but one is just how horrible it is, how unnecessary it is, and how now we're seeing it. I was like, oh God, we're going in the wrong direction. Avocados are in the green, onions are in the yellow. I mean, so I want to tell you one quick thing about our communications. What we do before we do a campaign is a lot of research, a lot of contacting manufacturers. They lied to us. They told us because they knew who they were talking to, and they knew that we knew about climate change. And these manufacturers of this horrible mesh packaging, they said, well, it's to prevent food waste because y'all, guess what? The main cause of climate change is. You wouldn't guess. It's food waste. And they knew that, and they knew who they were talking to. So when they told us that, we were like, oh, okay. Well, maybe, okay. Yeah, that must be why, because the mandarins are preserved better in this packaging. And, you know, uh, and then come to find out, we even have a website where they admit that the main reason for this packaging is marketing. The mandarins look better in the packaging, and it's the opposite of food waste. You have to buy a certain number, and you have to buy the moldy ones, and you have to buy the ones you might not eat, so you may throw them out. So I think that was probably the thing that tweaked my brain that said, don't lie to me, people. Don't lie to me like this. And I just got really upset. So that's my long story. I hope I answered your question.
You did
Okay.
very well, thank you. So I'm thinking that when we use our voice, if we called a manufacturer and got a simple answer like that, so that there was being dismissive, if you ask me, is dismiss and deny, dismiss the information, deny that you know anything about it, right? Is to ask more questions. Well, how does it reduce food waste? What is your data? Do you have quantitative data showing that this is reducing food waste? And where did it come from? And how
Really
long
good.
have you been collecting? So
Really good.
I believe in asking more and more and more questions.
But I understand people don't have your brain or they don't have the time. So what they can do is and we have a whole spreadsheet, you know, call sprouts. The best thing is to go because when you're face to face with somebody, and I'll tell you, those produce managers, this is the two things we've heard. One, the guy's like, oh, yeah, it is kind of crappy packaging. Like he never thought of it. Two, yeah, that's horrible packaging. So these people are there every day dealing with this, and they are going to respond to you if you go in person. If you're there, again, it needs to be convenient for you to do. If that's not doable, call them. But you need to know when you call, you need to say, I would like the right to purchase this item not in this packaging. One thing they'll say to you, well, we can cut some of them out for you. Nope, you're not getting the message, you know. So it's about educating these people about getting what you want, which is to purchase avocados, onions, whatever. If we don't say anything, pretty soon we're not going to have the option to buy onions loose, to buy avocados loose, to buy other things loose. I see where it's going. So that's why, in my mind, consumers can make a difference with one phone call. Um, so anyway,
Yeah.
yeah.
And clubs can do a sort of every member calls. Suddenly they're getting 5, 8, 20 calls. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's really
Well,
impactful.
also, Julie, we're working on this. I have a young lady who's going to create a flyer, and we're thinking of calling it "Don't Mesh with Me." And there's going to be an orange with a frown on his face, and he's like, "Ain't I orange enough for you?" I don't know. So, I mean, we have to inject some joy. We have to have some, um, just like, hey, this is kind of a fun thing. We're part of this group that's doing this. We're making a change, slowly, but again, I can tell you how heartening it's been for me. It's been hard to do legislation, right? Our group has educated almost 1,000 people this year. But nudging corporations is the stuff that puts gas in my tank because it's the thing people don't do. They don't think about, um, I have a say in this. They just don't. They're just, oh, go and buy the thing. And no, you do. You do have a choice. You do have some say. And they do listen.
Hmm.
So,
That's great. That actually inspires me. Liz, you have a question. Your hand's raised.
Yeah, well, you're kind of talking about what I was going to say. We need to amplify your voice. So number one, does the Flash Mob have a Facebook page, FoCo?
we do.
So okay, so I'm gonna find you. Let
Yep.
us use Zonta Says Now. We've got a Facebook page. I help run it with Julie. I also run our Pikes Peak Zonta page. I'm also an individual. I also have a creation care group on Thursdays. So all of us, whether we're just doing one thing or managing several pages like I am, we can amplify your ideas. And I love the don't mesh with me kind of cute thing, and just raising awareness. I don't ever use those mesh bags. They're disgusting to me. But I've never really talked about them. I've never really posted about why they're bad. So if I had a flyer, I would definitely use it. And maybe if you want to think with your group of 8 volunteers of one thing every month, that would be 12 campaigns a year. Because once you stop a habit, chances are very small that you would, work on the Don't Mesh With Me campaign and then 2 months later start buying them again. You wouldn't do that. It's just
Yeah.
raising awareness and thinking about, oh gosh, I used to use laundry detergent in a tub. Now I no longer use it. And now I can't even, I'm horrified when I see detergent tubs in other people's laundry rooms because it's so easy not to use it. So we can work with you. Let us amplify your voice. And I welcome everybody here just to tell one or two friends, hey, I'm going to do this. Please share with me.
Yeah, Liz, I totally appreciate it. I put the Facebook link in the chat. Again, with 8 volunteers, we do have limited capacity, of course, but What I would suggest is, I'm going to send that this would be the easiest thing for me to send Julie the rough edges of the campaign. I have two young people who are working on the flyer. But just the rough edges are, here's the blurb, call or go in person to your local grocer, make this blurb or comment, but we need to track it. The thing that I need to get this campaign off the ground is who is going to respond to me. So right now we have Sprouts and Whole Foods are the most responsive. Safeway, so others are just kind of like, ooh, so we don't know. So we need to focus in on which company can we get to do this, because then we have a small win and then it will maybe cascade. Um, so that's why I need to know who has called whom and what was said. And we have a spreadsheet that I can either put in the chat or send to Julie, but that's where I need this information rather than everybody just doing it and I don't know what happened. And then we can't get, like you said, Liz, we want to collaborate or coordinate. We have to do that. I have to know who said what and where and who responded.
Absolutely. Happy to help.
Okay.
Yeah, we are happy to help, and we will contact the rest of our members and more people to get that ball rolling, and we'll figure out a way to keep track so that we can send you the information. And
That's fine
it
too.
won't be a perfect science.
No, it isn't. It isn't because the discussions, like you said, Julie, they might go like if you have your brain, which I wish I had,
Mm.
you could be like asking them the other stuff. We're just asking, I'm just like this simple, it's basically this. Can I have the right to buy these products without this horrible packaging? Yes or no, Sprouts? Yes or no, Whole Foods? That's how simple it is. And the more we do this, even though the reality is the marketing people have told us what we want, and then we believed it because the culture of convenience has taken over, um, we can push back right now and they will listen. That is what they are there to do, is listen to customer service, customer complaints, blah, blah, blah. So that's where we have a little bit of power still.
Well, we should exercise that.
Yes.
Anybody else have a question before we say goodnight to Maureen?
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Yes, thank
much.
you.
I appreciate it. I look forward to the recording and I will send Julie all the stuff I have at this point. We will have, thank you guys. We will have some young ladies coming up with some flyers pretty soon.
Good. We will do what we can to promote this and figure out a funnel of how they can get the information to me or Liz or some of us. Maybe each we'll figure it out. Because it's got to go from one person to a group to back to another person and then to you. So I'm sure we can work things out.
Yeah.
And this is all through Colorado. We can do this, correct?
This could be national because Beyond
Okay.
Plastic has also told us they want to be involved, and that's a national group. That's our affiliate, one main affiliate.
Okay, perfect. So I know we have Patricia here from New York City. So we have the rest of us, I think, are Colorado. So once I get the video link from this recording and I get your information, we can make a big package out of it and Liz can promote and yeah, we can definitely spread the word. So that would be lovely. So thank you, Maureen. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
guys. Yes, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about something I'm so passionate about. Julie's already talked with me and's like, whoa.
No, I love it. I love it. So thank you. I love your passion and I love your purpose. So that's what we do. We find our passion and our purpose too. So I think we
Awesome.
did tonight. Yeah.
Yay.
Seeing a lot of thank yous on the chat as well. So,
Right. I will see you soon then. Bye.
okay. Thank you. Bye-bye. All right. I'm going to reshare the screen. All right, everyone. So why should Zontians care? Sometimes I can tell we all care, that everyone on the call, but some may not understand or have gone there in their lives and say, why should I care? I have a picture here of a aspen trees. And the reason why is because, to me, why Zontians should care kind of symbolize, the aspen trees symbolize that. This is sort of my esoteric message. We chose the aspen tree as our AEGE committee District 12 logo, is the aspen leaf. And the reason why is because the aspens are a huge organism. They are all connected. And I felt that it was appropriate tonight to say we are all connected. The aspen organism is like us. We're connected. We are all standing for the Zonta mission, the Zonta vision, and whichever campaign that we align ourselves with. Tonight, it's with Zonta Says Now. And then you can hear the aspens. They flutter and they quake. That is our voice. The aspen trees noise is like using our voices collectively. And I find that such a beautiful way of saying we work together and use our voice like the aspen leaves fluttering and quaking. So here's something that clubs can do. We already learned from Maureen so many things and how much we can do. But I have a few more things, just so that if you are faced with people who are just learning, just understanding, didn't even know it was a problem, because as many of you know, plastic, our trash, like Maureen said, it just goes away. So we are in a throwaway society, and in the United States, we have the perfect storm of throwaway society. We put it in a can, put the can in, or the bag in the bin takes it away, we don't see it again. It's a little bit of trash on our streets, not that much. Even in New York City last March when I was there, it was very clean. So it's hard to recognize that it's a problem. So people are going to need baby steps. So they should learn where their plastics are going, or any of their trash, their food waste. What recycling methods are being used in their community. That's a great thing to research. Go talk to your recycling people at your municipality and say, where does our plastic go? Is it landfill? Are you burning it? Because we want to know if our vulnerable populations in our communities are being affected. In Fort Collins, Colorado, they have a landfill, and that at every landfill, there's a lot of methane gas that rises, that warms the planet. It's worse than carbon because it holds the carbon down and the earth warms s'mores. It's like putting a lid on the heat. And so we want to know what's happening. How are women and girls affected? And we want to know if the decisions in our municipalities are made with gender balance. Are just men making these decisions? Are just women making these decisions? Can we advocate for a gender balance? Because that's really important to a thriving community, to have equal numbers of voices, male voices, female voices, or pretty equal. And then lastly, what can we do? We as individuals, can we as members of our club limit plastic use. One of the fun ways to limit plastic use when you have events is to use real dishes, real silverware, real cups, real glasses. And yes, that's time and labor intensive. But if you have a group that's putting things together, you can probably save money by reusing dishes and silverware rather than buying the plastic and throwing a huge bag of plastic away after every event. So if that's part of your journey, I say speak up, see what you can do. I know we did it a couple times at our club meeting. I brought in, they were plastic plates, but they're the washable kind, not to say that those are the greatest, but it was easy. I just threw them in my dishwasher when I got home. If you have 20 members, that's just 20 plates, throw them in your dishwasher. So those are some of the questions that I had for what can our clubs do to advocate. And lastly, and then we'll open up the mic, we'll turn off the recording and open up the mics in a moment. I wrote this part, you can be part of the answer, you could be part of the problem. It's your choice, it's your voice. So thank you. Our communities should be safe havens, not toxic environments that jeopardize our health, our livelihoods, and our joy. If you're interested in joining our committee, please let us know. Help us make a difference and build a better world for women and girls. Thank you, everyone. So I'm going to stop the recording.